drop the mandates is because the science simply no longer supports it. In fact, experience from all over the world, countries all over the world, has proven that the mandates are no longer supported by science. But our federal government and our BC provincial government still claim the science not only supports the mandates, but requires even more mandates. We all need to ask ourselves, to ask everyone, that the science here in BC is fundamentally different from the rest of the world. Personally, and I do have a science background, a Bachelor of Science degree, and in my estimation, the science is the same no matter where you go. And if the rest of the world says one thing and BC says something else, I think we know who to believe. Now, our governments have created division, one group of Canadians pitted against another. They're constantly fanning the flames of anger and even hatred between groups, splitting our country in two. And in the process, we're removing the cornerstone of democracy in Canada. Now, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms spells out and guarantees certain rights to all Canadians. There is, of course, a provision in the Charter which provides a government in times of dire need to temporarily suspend one or more of these rights. But there are a series of checks and balances in place to ensure that these rights are not violated lightly or for political expediency. The government is constrained by conditions imposed on it by the Supreme Court in 1986 in a case called Regina versus Oakes. Now, the circumstances of the Oakes case really have no bearing on why we're here or what it has to do with. But the Supreme Court of Canada laid down some blanket restrictions on government prior to any violation of our charter rights. First, and this is all become known now as the Oakes test. It requires that the government first, prior to violating any charter rights, must engage in open debate to ensure that the violation is absolutely necessary and that no lesser action is available or appropriate. Now, the violations must be of the slightest intrusion possible, affecting the smallest number of people possible, and to the smallest degree. And it must be ended as soon as possible and the violated charter rights restored.
Public enemy number 2.
Thank you. Now, these mandates, as we all know, clearly violate Canadians' charter rights. They were never openly debated, as required by the Supreme Court. The conditions imposed on the government under the Oakes test were never met. Bear in mind, these have to be done prior to any charter violation. Here we are 2 years later, still nothing. All I hear is crickets. The initial urgency of the pandemic, which was used to support these violations, has long since faded into obscurity. Yet government mandates not only continue, but are actively being intensified. The charter violations imposed by government have not been lawful, as they directly contravene both the charter itself and the Supreme Court's compulsory restrictions on the charter violations. The mandates continue to divide Canadians. They continue to destroy Canadian lives. They continue to destroy Canadian businesses. They continue to erode and remove Canadians' freedoms. And they continue to fracture and destroy the Canadian economy. To what end? That's a question I have yet to hear answered. All of this takes us back to the meaning of democracy, which requires that every person is equal in society and equal under the law. Is Canada still the true north, strong and free? That's what I want to hear. Our very democracy is in peril. We are no longer equal in society and under the law, according to government mandates. Our governments have divided us, and the reasons they use as an excuse for this division have proven false. A quote often attributed to Edmund Burke, and I'm going to paraphrase here in the interest of gender neutrality: the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is that good people do nothing. Thank you. We can remain silent and be part of the problem, or we can shed our silence and become part of the solution. And as you just heard, these goals are still within our reach. If we choose to raise our voices, to be heard, and to accept nothing less. Will you stand and be heard? I gotta tell you, I love you all like you can't believe. So, do not give up. Stay vocal, stay active, do not rest, and restore our democracy. Take back your rights. They are yours, to regain or to lose forever. The choice is ours. Thank you.
Service, Mike. All right. If any of you want to join this choir up here, please, there's some space for you. There's a few spaces if you want to go up there. Please feel free to jump in there and enjoy.
Oh, you're part of the
All right,
Unity group. Awesome.
ladies and
Oh, you're
gentlemen,
part of
our
our group,
next
Kelowna Unity Group.
Yeah, we're from Kelowna.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm Jason.
Awesome.
I didn't get on.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Good to have you here.
Yeah, we end up taking our own.
What's that?
We end up coming up on our own kind
Okay.
of last minute.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, we're Canadians and standing up together.
Awesome.
Sweet, sweet.
Ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
well, we
Kathy
just want
Klein.
to cheer on and encourage everyone who helps stand up for our children too.
Yeah.
So,
That's just
Absolutely.
it. Arthur's 21 and 22.
yeah.
And our daughter had to get
How's
the
everybody
jab for
doing?
university.
Well, I'm out here to tell you your marching orders. We're going to go on a march. How many people have been on a march before? Yeah, good. Okay, so I'd like you to keep all together, and I want you to yell out loud, and I want you to keep it family friendly, because we're going to see some people out there that don't even know this is going on. And I want you to know that the feeling that you guys feel when you come here of love and
I just got a tan. Can I put it in here?
those people
One is like there's like nothing in that section because I said don't
They've
tell me
been
any of that stuff.
fed a steady diet of hate and anxiety and fear. Big time fear, thank you. Anyways, on that note, I won't keep you much longer. So we're going to get the vets to go up in the corner, and they're going to walk down here first. Sorry, Maria. And then you don't have to go all to the corner, but you can all walk along here. But again, keep everybody together and walk in power, but march in love. And let's take the roof off this house tonight and make some noise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got two speakers from the BC Convoy for Freedom. They're the coordinators. I think we've got Anna Bielsis. Where is she? Anna, come on down. Anna.
I just gotta throw it on YouTube.
Hi, everyone. Ooh, a little bit nervous here. You guys are beautiful. Look at you. This is our Freedom family. What a beautiful couple. A little bit nervous. We are so blessed and humbled to be here. We are the BC Freedom Convoy organizers. Gonna get a little scary, not gonna lie. No waterproof makeup. Ooh. All right, so I am Anna Biosis, and this is Carmen Rod. We are the BC Freedom Convoy organizers. However, we prefer the word unifier.
Yeah.
We are all in this together and we all play a role. This is not any one thing. We are united. So we've come here today, the two of us, to witness this beautiful unification and to see the fruits of our sleepless nights and conversations that went on for days, and some mediation to see exactly what this looked like at the end of it. I like to say background, we like to say background, because you guys are the leaders, really. So we look forward to supporting each other and many more of these ventures. BC is strong. BC's come together. We are one solid movement. We're doing this peacefully, with love and respect. We're guests here today, and we know it, and we're proud to be so. And we're honored. I'm humbled and honored. We are humbled and honored.
Yes, we are.
So I am Anabiosis. I'm actually Anna, but Anabiosis is a symbol for something dead that's come to life. We are the awakening. I'm not Anabiosis. You guys are Anabiosis. We are the Great Awakening. This is our hill. Hold the line. We are BC. Are you
So, ladies and gentlemen, Canada Unity is where you could find their information online. So I know you guys have been really great and very patient. We're going to get through the next couple of speakers, but they're so important. You need to hear what they have to say. But just to reiterate, Wednesday walkouts at Bonnie's office at 12 p.m. every Wednesday, 1515 Blanchard Street. I wonder if she can hear me. Oh, Bonnie. Anyway, listen, there was a woman who came up to me and said, "Is this the earring that you found?" And I said, "No, but we did find your earring wherever you are. We have it here, that one. But I still have the little one. So feel your ears, or feel someone else's." No, I'm just joking. All right. Our next speaker, I have been practicing her name for days. She's a family physician for 35 years from the Soviet Union and will speak on her experience living in the USSR. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Marina Sapochnikov.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marina Sapochnikov, and I'm family doctor. And I was unlucky to spend first 30 years of my life in the Soviet Union. And I want to tell you what the real face of the socialism looks like. I will not talk about the atrocities of the Soviet regime that left tens of millions of people left dead. I will talk about dull and gloomy everyday existence of Soviet serfs, myself included. You will see parallels between that and our present life in Canada. And to be clear, it was all done for some mysterious greater good of the society. Somehow, none of us saw themselves on the receiving end of this greater good. We could not travel abroad without government approval, which was not granted except for high-level officials of the Communist Party. The Iron Curtain was impenetrable for us. Does this sound familiar for some of us today? When did you travel the last time? We lived in a total information blackout. Many of us stopped reading all newspapers and listened to the radio in a desperate attempt to protect ourselves from the absurd of the state propaganda and preserve some of the God-given common sense. The international radio stations were blocked. Some technically inclined souls were able to get through the static and listen in the middle of night, barely able to decipher what was said under distortions. Some of those people ended up in prison just for listening. You heard about the bills that our government tries to implement. The media of those years looked an awful lot like mainstream media today. Censorship was not invented yesterday. And anything you don't like to hear, you call misinformation. In the whole 2 years of pandemic, how many dissenting voices we saw on mainstream media? If we have, I must have missed one. You could all see how our protests were portrayed by the media and how badly distorted they were. God and faith were banned in the Soviet Union. Immediately after the revolution, all churches were destroyed. Religion was proclaimed to be opium for the people, and the only thing we were allowed to worship was the Big Brother. All religious holidays were banned. We had our state holidays. There was one, it was November 7th, the day of the great October Socialist Revolution. There was another one, May 1st, the day of solidarity with the International Proletariat, and March 8th, the International Women's Day. We will all had to go and cheer. Those celebrations were mandatory. From those years, I stopped celebrating all holidays, and I created my own schedule of holidays and birthdays. I celebrate when I feel like it, like today, for example. Thanks you all for coming. We had a one-party system, and during what they called an election, we elected one candidate out of one. As you can imagine, the participations in those elections was 99.9% according to the state media. It may sound unbelievable, but the government owned all real estate in the country. Every single person in the country worked for the government. We all were subjects of the state. We could not own our homes. We didn't have houses, we all lived in the apartments, and there was no whole lot of them. In many cases, 3 generations of one family lived in 2-bedroom apartments. When people were starting a job, they were allowed to get on a waiting list to get an apartment. And it took up to 20 years to get one. And if you dare to change your job, you have to give your place on the spot and start all over again. As we can notice today, many people well in their 30s live with their parents. Different means the same goal. You own nothing and you are happy. I could go on, but this is one experience that I really want to share with you. You probably start noticing the signs, but this is something very interesting. Our daily departments proudly featured cow ears, tails, hooves, and others. The rest of the cow was mysteriously absent. We never could figure out where the whole thing went. Other departments displayed dozens of yards filled with jars, filled with pickles. We did not have dairy sensitivity because we didn't have dairy too often. We had to organize expeditions to the capital city. In my case, it was Moscow or Kiev, to get some supplies. The poverty was intentional. It was a policy. The government kept us busy trying to get our basic supplies, so we have neither time nor inclination to start asking questions. The economy ran on bribes. And the scariest things of all, it felt normal. We did not know any better. And if you look around today, you can recognize some of the signs. Are you feeling inspired by this picture? Show of hands. I don't see so. I flatly refuse to see this dystopian existence taking root in this country, which we used to call free, because now I do know better. And when 2 years ago I started coming here, there was dozens of people carrying signs that freedom was essential. And I was scared. Look around today. We have thousands of people standing together. And we refuse to be scared anymore. In this speech in 2015, Trudeau said that citizens should not live in fear. In the last 2 years, he goes out of his way to instill this fear in each one of us. It has been known for quite some time that vaccines do not stop transmission of the virus. At the moment this news came out, vaccination stopped being a solution for public health crisis, if it ever was. And now, after 2 years, I am one of those who faces recent mandates. I am facing losing my license in a few weeks if I don't get vaccinated. And at the same time, we have been called racist and xenophobe for having the audacity to make decisions about our own health. I feel that none of us here thinks that things will improve on their own. Otherwise, we would not be standing here. We have a system in place which is good. It might not be perfect, but it works. but there is something not quite right with the people running the system. Have you seen one brave elected official who is supposedly working for us to come and explain their position? We would listen. We would even admit if we were wrong. But first, we need to hear what they have to say. We need to be able to ask questions, and we need debate. It is time for us to get up and dust off our complacency and get busy reclaiming our freedom and our democracy. We need to change the way we think, and it will change the way we act. We need to get into politics, start running for local offices, mayoral positions, city and town councils, and school boards. Nobody will do it for us except ourselves. The only way out is through.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Two things, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we need to move, we've been told that we need to move all the people from the sides into the center. So if you guys want to scooch yourselves into the center, so we'll get nice, now you'll get warm. You see? Now you'll get warm. Okay, listen, it's not planned, but it's so important that I introduce this person. He's only going to take 1 minute of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, clinical psychologist, Dr. Brian McLean.
Thank you, folks, for being here. It is wonderful to see a crowd like this of freedom fighters. For the past 2 years, some of you may know that across the planet, mental health has declined. Mental illness has increased, it has doubled over the planet. Mental illness in this province is at catastrophic levels over the past 2 years. Come March 24th, many psychologists, as well as many other mental health workers and medical staff personnel will be fired, basically. We will lose our licenses. For the past 2 years, many of us, including myself, have been on 24/7 call for our clients. Many of my clients are active and retired members of DND, local and national police forces. These people, many of them are traumatized, and we are the only source of support that they have. This government is prepared to cut them off. I could go on about this huge problem that we're facing, but I've been given a short period of time, and I have 2 messages for you. One is, call the College of Psychologists in Vancouver. Make your voices known. Some of the people who are suffering perhaps are in this crowd, your neighbors, your friends, and their support is going to be taken away. Calling the College of Psychologists in Vancouver. The second is, stay strong, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Brian McLean. All right, our next speaker is one of the heroes here in Victoria because he stayed open for us and served us. Ladies and gentlemen, from the owner of the Sunny Side Cafe in Esquimalt, Brendan Marshall!
Thank you. Thank you. This is what the beginning of freedom looks like. Not the end. This is the beginning. It was 6 months ago that my wife and I saw on the mainstream news media that there was an order out to force restaurants and bars to require people to show the vaccine passport. And we were horrified. We jumped out in front right away and said, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is not something that we should have in our country. This is very discriminatory and wrong. And we got a lot of flack for it for some reason. You know, people were scared, Delta was coming, and people thought that this was the right thing to do. We felt very uneasy about it. We felt like there was something else, an agenda going on, and it seemed like they really wanted to divide people, and unfortunately they tried, but they have not succeeded in this country. Now, as other provinces begin to open up and to drop mandates like dying flies, British Columbia, for some reason, hasn't woken up to that. But I think the people have woken up, but it's these folks back in here, certain people in the government don't quite understand what it is that is going on. And what it is that people have woken up. So they're going to have to decide, are they going to listen to people that have been vaccinated and people that have not? Or are they just going to forget about the people that they're supposed to serve? That's a decision that they have to make. But whatever happens, whatever the mandate is, we have to stand up and speak out about it. My wife and I, we walked. In September, we came here by foot. We walked 1 foot in front of the other. And we stood down there in the corner, and there was, maybe a couple of hundred people. But 6 months later, look at this place. Look at you. Look at this. We are not going to allow our country fall into a position where we get pushed around like some Soviet state. No way. We reject that. And as this movement grows and grows, this is going to become the normal. This is a regular thing. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for the support. Thank you to everybody, the veterans, the teachers, the healthcare workers. The service industry has been totally hit just horribly hard over the last 2 years. And now in BC, this is a time where we want to be confident in creating jobs, entry-level jobs for young people. People need to get out and work and be together. And it's really coming down to just, we have to open up. And let's do it. We'll do it together. Upward and onward. Thank you.
Brandon Marshall! Now listen, don't you all go there at one time. There's 3 tables. We have to get more space because you're too popular. All right. Our second last speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a wonderful, wonderful doctor. She's got a Bachelor of Science, Biology, and she graduated from medical school in 1986 at the U of A. She has practiced general medicine since 1988. And she has been all over Canada, Quebec, south of Labrador, Surrey, Vancouver, Port Hardy, and finally settling in Campbell River 24 years ago with her husband Peter Olson, who started the plastic surgery program for the North Island, gravitated towards addiction medicine in the last few years, advocating for increased care and wraparound services for this population. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Anna Kindy.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for caring for our freedoms and democracy. So thank you. As a physician, I work for you. I do not work for the government. These are some of my codes of ethics. My job is to take care of you to the best of my ability. I am not perfect, but I will strive to look for the truth and strive to do no harm. As science evolves, my treatment plan will evolve. I will be open to scientific debate and other treatment options. My job is to give all of you all of the information you need so that you can make an informed consent. Informed consent means a real discussion of the risks and benefits of a medical intervention. I will not use behavior science to manipulate or coerce you into accepting a medical intervention. I will respect your decision, regardless if I agree with it or not. Now let's talk about public health. Public health is a discipline of medicine, and as such should be guided by a similar code of ethics. Public health should not be guided by politics or big pharma, but by science. Since science evolves, this is some of the things we know about COVID after 2 years. Number one, COVID is a disease of the elderly with comorbidities. In BC, the median age of death is 82. To give context, provincial life expectancy is 82. The risk of disease and death in children is statistically negligible, less than the flu. Number two, public health measures that isolate the healthy to protect the vulnerable has failed. Lockdowns has increased mental health issues and potentially increased all-cause mortality. What should have been done is protect the vulnerable in a compassionate way. And compassionate way means showing your face. Number three, the experimental COVID-19 vaccines are leaky vaccines and do not prevent you from getting or transmitting COVID. Some of the most vaccinated countries in the world have had the highest rate of COVID infections. Number four, there are risks associated with an experimental COVID-19 vaccines. The risk and benefit ratio of COVID vaccine is different for an 80-year-old with comorbidities and a healthy 15-year-old. The label safe and effective should not be used for a vaccine that has 1 in 5,000 risk of causing myocarditis in healthy young men and teenagers. Number 7, Natural immunity is superior to vaccines for protection against COVID-19. Number 8, many of us have natural immunity. Number 9, vaccine passports do not protect the population. Vaccine passport causes division and stigmatizes the unvaccinated. Number 10, vaccine mandates of an experimental leaky vaccine that has a non-liability clause has resulted in societal trauma, including job losses, financial ruin, and family division. Now, because of these mandates, many of our healthcare workers, the heroes of yesterdays, have been fired. As of March 24th, many more physicians and healthcare workers will be suspended, including 30 GPs that I know of, specialists in general surgery, orthopedic surgery, vascular surgery, internal medicine, anesthesia, pediatrics, radiology, emergency medicine, hospitalists, medical microbiologists. And these doctors are not the fringe elements taking up space. In summary, as a medical discipline, public health needs to remove itself from politics and truly follow science as it evolves. That means permanently dropping mandates and passports. Public health, and I would add all physicians in general, need to rebuild the trust of the population they have lost in the last 2 years. And as a group of physicians, we need to help Canadians unite so that once again we can call Canada a compassionate, tolerant, free, and healthy nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anna Kendi. All right, our last speaker of the afternoon, and thank you so much for being patient. And I'm happy that the sun's over there. We're sad that it's not over here, but we're all together here, and we're just so happy and thankful. All right, so our last speaker is a resident of Vancouver Island. She's passionate about protecting our Constitution and stands together with fellow first responders. She served as a firefighter at a local volunteer department for 7.5 years until the fall of 2021, when she refused to disclose private medical information. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Roz Campbell. She loves you too.
Thank you guys so much for still being here today. I know I'm not Brian Peckford, but he will be with us again at a future event. Before I get started, I just want to acknowledge that people are standing here today, like myself, are pretty private people. I don't have a huge, social media following. I have about 20 friends on Instagram. And so we're putting ourselves out here and we're being uncomfortable because we have to get uncomfortable and we have to push back. That's the only way we're going to get through this. So I'm incredibly honored to be speaking with you today as a first responder. I served as a firefighter at a local volunteer fire department in my small community for 7.5 years. When we were first offered the jab in the spring of 2021, I did not rush to book an appointment. Senior officers and captains started questioning me about my vaccination status, and when I told them I wanted to talk to my doctor first, the pressure increased. I held my ground. I met with my doctor, I read medical journals, and I made an informed choice which considered my age, my health, my risk, and the risk of the vaccine. A choice that is private medical information. The vaccine is still an emergency use medical treatment, and it uses technology that has never been tested on humans before. There is zero long-term data and carcinogenic research. Everyone needs that information to make a clear and informed decision. I served until October 31, 2021, responding to people in need, and never once did I consider their vaccination status, nor did I ever worry about the vaccination status of firefighters on my crew, because I knew every one of us, regardless of vaccination status, could still contract and transmit the virus. On November 1, my department initiated a vaccination policy, and I did not feel my department had shared any information that justified their egregious decision to exceed the provincial health order. At that time, to my knowledge, not a single member in my department had even contracted the virus. Many members, vaccinated and vaccine-free, stood down due to the vaccination policy. The department is still short members. So today, I rise for my firefighter brothers and sisters and all the other first responders and healthcare workers who are fighting for their right to choose. To be clear, this includes healthcare workers who willingly got the vaccine because they made an informed choice for themselves and decided it was the best choice for them. Yet, while countries around the world and provinces across the country prepare to drop mandates and passports, Dr. Bonnie Henry has doubled down on our healthcare workers. I guess the science is unique. I guess the science is unique in BC, and the virus changes at our borders. Dr. Bonnie Henry, with the support of Health Minister Adrian Dix and Premier John Horgan, is trying to push through a mandate which will impact all regulated healthcare professionals in the province. I'm not going to go through the full list today, but it goes from everything from doctors to social workers to psychologists to veterinarians. It's massive. We already have a fragile healthcare system and a shortage of healthcare professionals in BC. Approximately 30% of British Columbians do not have a family doctor. We have been struggling since our nurses and BC public servants were put on unpaid leave in the fall. Those left to fill the gap by the nursing and BC public service mandates are now at their max, and they have taken stress leave. This needs to stop now, and our nurses and BC public servants need to be recalled to work and provided with back pay. The mandates are completely unjustified, and due to the staff shortages caused by mandates, we've had COVID-positive workers on front lines. This feels like nothing more than an attempt to remove dissenting voices. So, you can take action by visiting freedomtochoose.ca, which is run by a passionate group of BC healthcare professionals who are vaxxed and unvaxxed, standing for medical autonomy and informed patient consent. They have letter templates and all the contact information listed for the colleges, Henry Dix and Horgan. So that's freedomtochoose.ca. They are also very active on social media and have posted some incredible videos by some of our BC healthcare professionals. You can find them as BC Healthcare Collaborative on social media. There is another sensitive item that I would like to touch on today. As a third generation Canadian of Ukrainian descent, I am gutted by what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. I also know that there is a long and complicated history between those two countries, which began to really spiral after the Ukrainian Revolution of Dignity in 2014, when a coup overthrew the sitting government. There are innocent lives being lost in Ukraine and Russia. War leaves a devastating path. I have seen many people on social media speaking about the war, and some Canadians are telling fellow Canadians that their current hardships do not compare to those of Ukrainians. If there is something I know for sure, it is that it is possible to feel compassion for people suffering during a time of war, while also feeling compelled to fight for every single one of my Canadian freedoms. Comparing abuse by governments is a deceitful tactic used to silence those deemed less abused. Comparing levels of abuse is extremely demoralizing and a dehumanizing way to dismiss victims and their trauma. I know this because I grew up in an abusive home with an alcoholic father. Minimizing abuse is a psychologically abusive tactic used to confuse, suppress, and silence victims. Ironically, the Victoria Child Abuse Prevention and Counseling Center, listen to this, this is important. A center meant to support traumatized and sexually abused children, youth, and families, has a vaccine mandate for in-person sessions for people that are 12 and older, and it is posted front and center. It is posted front and center on their website. This is the kind of hypocrisy that we continue to see in our society, and we must call it out. I know you're tired of fighting. The devil couldn't take us out, so he's trying to wear us down. Right now, speaking about democracy and Christianity, and even saying the word freedom in Canada has become controversial, and that is a clear sign that our democracy is on unsteady ground. And so, I continue to speak about all of these things, and I do it with the courage of God behind me. I respect that not everyone here today is a Christian, and that is the beautiful thing about democracy. We can stand together even when we don't agree on everything. I also do not blindly pledge allegiance to any politician or political party. Every elected official is a public servant, and they are accountable to every constituent, not just the ones that voted them into office. Do not forget that 60% of eligible voters voted in the last federal election. 1/3 of those voted Liberal, which means only 20% of Canadians support Justin Trudeau. And that's gone down since the election. So to my fellow Canadians, even one freedom taken away is one too many. Don't give up. Keep complaining, keep emailing, keep calling, keep posting, keep protesting, keep showing up. Stay vocal. Stay engaged. Inform your MLAs and MPs, because many of them use government-funded mainstream media to stay informed. Fight for every one of your damn freedoms. Whether it is to get on a plane, eat in a restaurant, watch your kids play sports, or to keep your job to put food on your table. Never feel guilty. Never feel foolish. You were born free, and you need to fight for every God-given freedom, regardless of what is happening anywhere else in the world. It is possible to fight ferociously for the right to travel in Canada and the right to your bodily autonomy, while also caring about the lives of innocent people terrorized by war. Don't let these gaslighters abuse you more. Keep fighting. When people are controlled by fear, whoever controls the fear controls the people. I know because I grew up in a home like that. Let go of fear. It does not serve you. While we have been looking at foreign issues, we have been missing important items passing through the House of Commons and Senate. We Unify will post the following information on their website along with contact info for MPs and senators. We need you to stand up for democracy and pick up the phone and call them if you are concerned about Bill C-10 and Bill C-36, which have already been mentioned today. Just a note that one private member is calling to ban Fox News in Canada. That's a real thing. Bill S-233. Also note that there are changes trying to be made to the federal Canada Labor Code. They're trying to make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory permanent. One other item to note is the World Health Organization Global Health Accord. Who has heard of this? So the World Health Assembly has launched a process to develop a historic accord on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. This accord could supersede all constitutions worldwide in the event of a pandemic. You must contact your politicians. The Honorable Mr. Brian Peckford, the last living co-author and signatory of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, inspired me to get more involved. I heard him speak in December and he set my heart on fire. It is absolutely our civic duty to be engaged because, as he said, democracy is a very fragile thing and most countries around the world have had to fight to keep it. Our time has arrived now. If you have not contacted your MLAs, MPs, or senators, you cannot sit idle any longer. Our charter has been desecrated by these continued mandates and restrictions. The science is not unique in Canada. I have a few important updates about We Unify. On February 14th, the NDP stood with the Liberals and voted down a motion to put forth the Conservatives, which required the Liberals to present a plan to exit federal mandates. The NDPs and the Liberals stood and voted down that motion. They didn't want to put forth a plan to exit pandemic mandates in Canada. That's unacceptable. So where do we go from here? I joined We Unify because I am passionate about protecting our democracy, and I have become more engaged with Canadian politics in the last 6 months than I have ever been in my entire life. Even if every single mandate dropped tomorrow across this province, our work is not over. And don't forget that Dr. Bonnie Henry referred to returning restrictions in the fall in her last press conference. We have plans for the weeks and months ahead at We Unify to continue to stand for democracy. Our elections team is starting to grow. We need a solution to the problem in politics, and we are going to create that urgently needed solution. We are canvassing our membership and identifying quality people so that we can build a base of candidates. We are focusing on local and civic elections this fall. We Unify is going to build a new provincial political party in BC. Most Canadians are reasonable people, and we want reasonable policies and solutions. Our legal team has been working extremely hard and has also prepared demand letter templates. These demand letters can be used by anyone that is on unpaid leave, has been terminated, or that resigned under duress due to mandates. We Unify is going to stand for you and take action. If your employer does not negotiate within the terms of the letters, the legal team will file court paperwork. Our newly formed outreach team is working to bring fellow Canadians on side by working with small businesses, many who vehemently oppose and disagree with the current mandates. The outreach team is also preparing to recall elected officials who are no longer representing their constituents. We are also committed to an event every month. Our next event is on Sunday, April 17th, which is the 40th anniversary of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And yes, that's Easter Sunday. Our May event will run on Saturday, May 14th, and we are excited to announce that the Honorable Mr. Brian Peckford will be back to speak and share his passion for democracy. My last note is that we are a volunteer organization comprised of all walks of life. Many volunteers here have lost their jobs. Running an event like this takes a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money. We spent approximately $10,000 on this event today. So I have to ask, have you enjoyed your time here? Did you learn something, and are you leaving feeling inspired? Are you going to contact your elected officials? Please visit the website at weunify.ca. You can learn more about the organization, and you can also donate online. You can see all the videos from our January 29 event and all the videos from today. We Unify has a goal to be able to hire staff and register as a nonprofit. Thank you for your support in ensuring that will happen. God bless Canada.